Could Bitcoin make its largest price jump ever? The next few months could witness the biggest catalyst events in crypto, and trust us, this is huge. We're going to predict where Bitcoin's price could be post-ETF approval, considering factors like increased adoption, ease of access, and some interesting insights regarding ETFs and the halving. So let's dive right into this financial deep end and see what's in store for Bitcoin. The potential impact on Bitcoin's price. How could the approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF affect its price? If we go by what Glassnode's article suggests, we're looking at a possible inflow of around $70 billion into Bitcoin within 1 year of the ETF launch. That's a lot of cash flowing into the market. But it's not just about the money. The psychological impact of an ETF approval can't be understated. It represents a level of acceptance and trust in Bitcoin from regulatory bodies, which could significantly boost investor confidence. This combination of increased capital inflow and heightened investor confidence might just be the recipe for the biggest price jump Bitcoin has ever seen. Take a look at this article from Nasdaq.com. They are kind of saying an ETF approval will either make the price go up or down. Which would make them correct either way? Talk about playing it safe. But let's take a look. In a past video, we analyzed the price of gold pre- and post-ETF to get an idea of where Bitcoin could go. In this article, we get a glimpse, as they state, of where Bitcoin could go by looking at past price action, specifically around the futures ETF and spot ETF rejections. In 2017, the price of Bitcoin surged to over $1,400, driven in part by the anticipation of the first Bitcoin ETF. This was up from lows in the $600 range just the year before. Investors believed then that the introduction of a Bitcoin ETF would make it easier for institutional money to enter the market, leading to a frenzy of buying. However, the SEC ultimately rejected the proposal, causing a sharp decline in Bitcoin's price. Within days, the price was trading back below $1,000. Hopefully, this time around this won't happen. Bloomberg analysts have pegged an approval at around 90% likeliness, and a lot has changed over the years. Mainly court rulings in favor of crypto and against the SEC. Plus, with advertisements from Van Eck and others hitting the media, we doubt another rejection is on the way. The article goes on to talk about later Bitcoin price jumps in states. Ultimately, however, the arrival of Bitcoin futures would bring new attention in 2017, the market surging above $20,000 that year. Elsewhere, we can fast forward to 2021, when Bitcoin once again rallied to all-time highs, reaching over $60,000. This time, the rally was partly fueled by the successful launch of Bitcoin futures ETFs in Canada and Europe. These ETFs allowed investors to gain exposure to Bitcoin without holding the cryptocurrency directly. The anticipation of a similar product in the US contributed to the bullish sentiment. We disagree with a lot of this. Although futures ETFs were definitely bullish for Bitcoin, they wouldn't drive up demand a whole lot because underlying crypto isn't actually being purchased due to these ETFs, and most people knew this. Alternatively, this could have led some to believe a spot ETF was on the way, but it actually created a lot of confusion on why the SEC would approve a futures ETF and not a spot ETF. A lot of people ended up questioning this decision. Furthermore, this article flat out ignores past halvings. Some of the biggest jumps in Bitcoin's price were made around halvings. We'd argue a lot of the gains made in 2017 and later in 2021 had a lot more to do with the 2016 and 2020 halving. Not to mention the 2020 halving was also boosted by COVID, easy money, stimulus checks, low interest rates, etc. Now, we are not saying the price of Bitcoin won't go up. It will. We think Bitcoin is going to make the largest jump it has made yet. But this will be due to a combination of Bitcoin spot ETF approvals, Bitcoin spot ETF launches, and the next halving. We really don't think the price jumps the Nasdaq article mentions were due to the successful launch of Bitcoin futures ETFs in Canada and Europe, especially with spot Bitcoin ETFs in those areas launching and not affecting the price enough for most Americans to even know they existed. But we are extremely bullish because not only are we staring down spot ETFs in the US, but halving as well. One thing we do agree with, though, is the reaction to fake ETF news earlier this year. Bitcoin's price rose by several $1,000s in minutes, a move that suggests upside volatility on approval is likely. That was definitely a bullish moment for Bitcoin, even if it did end up being fake. Timeline for the price impact. Now, Let's talk timeline. How long could it take for us to see this price jump? Well, it's not going to happen overnight. Even after the ETF is approved, it'll take some time for the money to start flowing in. Institutional investors, in particular, tend to move more cautiously, and it may take a while for them to allocate significant funds to a Bitcoin ETF. It's also worth considering the gradual effect of increased retail investor participation. As more people become aware of and comfortable with investing in a Bitcoin ETF, we'll likely see a steady increase in demand, which could progressively push the price up. That doesn't mean we won't see a surge in price like during the fake news event. We will, but who knows how far that will go? Could it take Bitcoin to 100,000? If so, for how long until the price starts to come back down? Take a look at this article from Cointelegraph. We agree with them here that there most likely won't be a price correction or sell the news event after approval, at least not right away. It's possible if the price of Bitcoin really shoots up, some people start taking profit. But institutional investors are in it for the long run. We just have to get past the preliminary buffers ETF providers created to support initial demand, as Cointelegraph mentions. But once this happens and the excitement dies down is when the real action happens. Investment advisors and retirement managers will start getting comfortable putting Bitcoin in retirement accounts. Those accounts, especially for boomers who are most likely not in it all at this point, have very deep pockets. These are the people who will be getting into Bitcoin for the first time and really moving the price. Also, don't forget, the people creating these ETFs are the largest investors themselves. Could other funds under the BlackRock umbrella be encouraged to get into their ETF? BlackRock would be getting 2 different management fees if so. Everything is lining up all too well for the price to not skyrocket. Buying Bitcoin will be too easy for anyone and everyone, and too many people will have sales teams pushing these ETFs in front of every investor. Too many companies will have management fees on the line. And we haven't even talked about the upcoming interest rate reductions. Kathy Wood thinks Bitcoin could hit $1 million by 2030.
I'm assuming, Kathy, that you're going to hold to your Bitcoin forecast for, $1 million per coin by 2030. That still feels good to you?
Yes, and you can, sometimes you need to battle test. You need to go through crises to see who the real, to see the survivors, first of all, but really to battle test the infrastructure and the thesis. And again, we think Bitcoin is coming out of this smelling like a rose.
Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. We think it's plausible, especially considering the finite amount of Bitcoin available. In the short term, we think 100 is plausible for Bitcoin. But Bitcoin would most likely take a dip from there. But it's only a matter of time before it pops back up due to the halving and actual demand from ETF investors piling in. At that point, 250 isn't out of the question within a year or two. After that, Kathy Wood's $1 million prediction. But here's a crucial question. Is the ETF approval already priced into Bitcoin's current value? In the world of investment, markets often price in expected events. This means traders might have already bought Bitcoin in anticipation of the ETF approval, inflating its current price. If that's the case, we might not see as dramatic a jump in price as some are expecting post-approval. In fact, we could even see a buy the rumor, sell the news scenario, where the price dips slightly after the announcement. It's a tricky element to predict, but definitely something to keep in mind as we approach the potential ETF approval. Circling back to the fake news event, though, and we have a clear picture of what could potentially happen. We don't think a sell the news event is likely, nor do we think the price of an ETF approval is already baked in. Maybe a bit with this recent pump to 45-ish, but only a bit. If you're finding this analysis helpful and want to stay up to date with all the latest in the crypto universe, smash that subscribe button. Your support helps us bring you more insights and deep dives into the world of cryptocurrency. All right, let's wrap this up. To sum it up, the approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF could indeed be the catalyst for the biggest price jump in Bitcoin's history. The influx of new capital, increased adoption, and the psychological impact of regulatory approval could all play significant roles in driving up Bitcoin's price. However, it's important to remember that the world of crypto is unpredictable. There are always factors at play that we might not have considered. The potential for the ETF approval to be already priced in, and the timeline for the market to react, are things to watch closely. In the end, Whether you're a seasoned investor or just crypto curious, the approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF is an event you won't want to miss. Keep your eyes on the market, and let's see how this exciting chapter in Bitcoin's story unfolds. That's it for today's upload. We'll see you in the next video.